Did you know that your higher self is actually a gift you give yourself from the future?
No way.
Absolutely. These things and more we explore on this episode of Hollywood Frequency.
Welcome back. Thank you for watching this video. We appreciate you in every way. Today we're going to be talking about the Law of One, and specifically the higher self and the references that Ra gives from the book The Law of One, the Raw Material. If you haven't read the book, we highly suggest reading the book, and we actually ask you as well if you wouldn't mind subscribing, liking, sharing these videos, because our goal is to elevate and raise consciousness, and I assume yours is too. That's why you're here. So we're going to be talking about different parts of the book. We went through and searched and found different mentions of the higher self, and we're bringing those to you. So we're going to be reading from the book itself. We're going to be talking about it, giving you some insight in the higher self. It's very interesting. I think at the end of this video you'll feel a bit more comfort that you have guidance from a more evolved version of yourself. So with that being said, I'm going to start with 36.9, the questioner, and this is again from the Law of One. And just to bring you up to speed, if you're not familiar with the book, it's a channeling done by Carla Ruckert, Don Elkins, and Jim McCarty. And it was done in the early 80s, channeling the Ra, the same Ra that you may have heard from Egypt, who came down in human form as a wanderer. And they brought this information to help raise consciousness and to exemplify and let everyone know, really, whoever comes across the material, that we're all one. That's the Law of One, obviously, that everything is one. So we highly recommend you read the book. Anyway, getting started on 36.9, the questioner asks Ra, is the higher self of every entity of a sixth density nature? Now, we don't want to get into the densities today, but we do have a video on the densities. We're in the third density, and as you can imagine, it goes fourth, fifth, sixth, so it's significantly higher up in the densities. And Ra says, this is correct. This is an honor duty of self to self as one approaches the seventh density. So he confirms right there that there is every person, every self, has a higher self in the sixth density. The questioner goes on and says, in that case, we'll go ahead with the questions we have here, continuing the last session. You said that each third density entity has a higher self in the sixth density, which is moving to the mind-body-spirit complex of the entity as needed. Mind-body-spirit complex is basically you. You're a mind, you're a body, you're a spirit together in a complex. He goes back to the quote. It says, does this higher self also evolve in growth through the densities, beginning with the first density? And does each higher self have a corresponding higher self advanced in densities beyond it? So the questioner is really trying to ask and get more information of where does this higher density exist, and is it also evolving as it goes through the densities? And Ra says, I am Ra. He says, to simplify this concept is our intent. The higher self is a manifestation given to the late sixth density mind-body-spirit complex as a gift from its future selflessness. Its future selfness. The mid-seventh density last action before turning towards the allness of the Creator and gaining spiritual mass is to give this resource to the sixth density self, moving as you measure time in the stream of time. You want to go on and continue the quote, Byron?
Yeah. This self, the mind-body-spirit complex of late sixth density, has then the honorary duty to use both the experiences of its total living bank and memory of experience, thoughts, and action, and using the resource of the mind-body-spirit complex totally left behind as a type of infinite complex thought form. So you get to gain the experience of all of your existence, outside of time even, to guide you as a resource. But it still allows you, of course, to have free will so that you can experience, learn, and go through the experience of, a carnal third density experience, but you still have access to the fully evolved version of yourself at any time.
Right. Isn't that an amazing concept that you have a future self, a higher self, and a higher density that is there to assist you and guide you? He goes on to say, in this way, you may see yourself, your higher self or oversoul, and your mind-body-spirit complex totality are as 3 points in a circle. The only distinction is that of your time-space continuum. All are the same being. So they're saying, and we'll get to it further, that you, your higher self, and your oversoul are all one. So it's like a circle. Each one is on a point, but you call that a circle. So yes, there's a point on the circle that's your higher self, there's a point that's your oversoul, and there's a point that's you, your mind, body, spirit complex, but the reality is it's still a circle. The whole thing is a circle. So right now they're leading to the point that you have multidimensionality, and you have multiple versions of yourself. The next questioner asks, and he's a bit hazy on the subject, he says, I'm a little fuzzy on a point with respect to the higher self. Now we each, I am assuming, have separate or different higher selves at 6 density positive levels. This is correct. Each of us in the room, that is, here there's 3 of us. So at the time, as I mentioned earlier in the book, they're channeling, there's 3 people. So they're asking Ra if all 3 of them have a higher self in the 6 density positive. Ra says, firstly, it is correct that each in this dwelling place has one oversoul, as you may call it. However, due to the repeated harmonious interactions of this triad of entities, there may have seen to be further harmonious interactions besides the 3 entities' higher selves. That is, each social memory complex has an oversoul of a type which is difficult to describe to you in words. In this group, there are 2 such memory complex totalities blending their efforts with your higher selves at this time. So, what we're seeing here is that there are a lot of moving parts beyond what we are traditionally used to understanding. You know, we think we have angels, perhaps. You know, many people say, well, I pray to God. Some pray to God and some angels or guardian angels. But here we're finding out there's oversoul, there's higher self, you know, and these versions of you are working towards you and others to bring forward hopefully a certain result. But you have free will, and you don't have to, and you can call on them or you cannot for their help. Byron, you want to go ahead with the next question?
Yes. Does the higher self have physical vehicle or some type of vehicle like our physical vehicles? Does it have a bodily complex?
Right. So he's saying, does the higher self have a body like us?
Yeah, and I would suspect not, but perhaps you could let us know.
So Ra says, this is correct. The higher self is of a certain advancement within the 6th density, going into the 7th. After the seventh has been well entered, the mind-body-spirit complex becomes a totality mind-body-spirit complex that begins to gather spiritual mass and approaches the octave density. Thus, looking backwards is finished at that point. So it does have a physical self, and it does move up to the 8th octave, where then it may go in with the Creator.
So it's like a spiritual body, but it's not like our bodies, or is it saying it's akin to our bodies?
Well, that's something that we have to explore in the material.
Okay, got it.
So, this is just one part of the higher self, one part of the mentions of the higher self, and we have another segment where we'll talk further about it, and we're going to let you read this quote, and we'll get right into that.